The real problem in DC is organized crime. Tactical civics exists to end DC organized crime and finally enforce what we stipulate in our highest law. The American people resume the highest office in government. Investigating, arresting, indicting, and punishing corruption in public offices with monetary fines and prison time, just like the courts do for other criminals. Besides our Bring Congress Home Act to split them up and keep them under the people's watchful eye, and besides our indictment engine mobile app analyzing every bill they propose, which we will talk about more in the next episode, we plan to return county-level law enforcement to America like it existed for generations in early America. Year after year of political outrage and calling DC organized crime a swamp doesn't change a thing. The incentive they need is arrest, felony indictment, and prison time. That's the action plan of Tactical Civics. Well, the good news is that there is a local lawful plan. Tactical Civics is actually taking action to restore this republic. And one of the first things we have to do is decentralize the government, like it was always meant to be. Tactical Civics is going to be adding the 28th Amendment, what was originally supposed to be our First Amendment. Let's just go back for a second, because this is something that is rarely talked about and most people are not aware of. But we were originally supposed to have a different first right in the Constitution.
This is one of the greatest stories never told about our founding generation. You see, when the first Congress passed the infamous Bill of Rights, there were 12, count them, 12 articles of amendment in the Bill of Rights, not 10. Of those 12 amendments, numbers 3 through 12 were fully ratified and became the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, affectionately known as the Bill of Rights. So, what became of the original first and second? Were they thrown into an 18th century paper shredder, never to be seen again? Absolutely not. Far from it. The original Second Amendment wasn't fully ratified until 200 years later, when it became our new 27th Amendment. Now, I can hear the wheels turning, and you're thinking, say what? Are you making this up? Nope. When Congress passed the Bill of Rights in 1789, none of those articles of amendment had a limitation or expiration date written into the article. So, with more states being added over the next 150 years, those first two articles of amendment just sat there in the archives collecting dust. Then, a funny thing happened in 1983. A University of Texas college student named Greg Watson was made aware of the original second right, which prohibited Congress from giving themselves a raise that would take immediate effect. It was initially ratified by only 10 states, leaving it 2 states short of full ratification. Greg Watson thought this was a no-brainer. So he went on a personal crusade that lasted 9 years, and in 1992, he successfully persuaded 28 more states to ratify the original second, bringing the total to 38 states, 3/4 of the current 50, making it the new 27th Amendment. Okay, so what about the other one? The original first article of amendment? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, a little background. At the end of the Constitutional Convention in 1787, when they had the language finalized, the articles assembled in their final form, and preparing to vote and sign, Delegate Nathaniel Gorham made a motion to change one word in Article 1 of the proposed Constitution. Quote, "The number of representatives shall not exceed 1 for every 40,000, to read, for every 30,000. Then the President of the Convention, General George Washington, cleared his throat and stood up to speak for the first time in 5 months of the convention. So on page 644 of the Records of the Federal Convention, James Madison describes the scene. When the president rose, he said that although his situation had hitherto restrained him from offering his sentiments, he could not forbear expressing his wish that the alteration proposed might take place. The smallness of the proportion of representatives had been considered by many members of the convention an insufficient security for the rights and interests of the people. He acknowledged that it had always appeared to himself among the disagreeable parts of the plan. As late as the present moment was for admitting amendments, he thought this of so much consequence that it would give much satisfaction to see it adopted. The change was adopted unanimously. And when you look at the state ratification conventions, where the people determined whether we would in fact ordain and establish our Constitution, you can clearly see that the people assumed, even took for granted, that we would always have small representative districts. Wilson Carey Nicholas, who served on behalf of Virginia in the U.S. Senate from 1799 to 1804 and was the 19th governor of Virginia from 1814 to 1816. In his speech during the Virginia Ratifying Convention said, "I take it that the number of representatives will be proportioned to the highest number we are entitled to, and that it never will be less than one for every 30,000. How great was this concern that representation always be a sufficient proportion to the population? It was so important that the founders enshrined the guarantee of small representative districts into the Bill of Rights as our original first right. Here's what it said. Article the First. After the first enumeration required by the first article of the Constitution, there shall be one representative for every 30,000 until the number shall amount to 100, after which the proportion shall be so regulated by Congress that there shall be not less than 100 representatives, nor less than one representative for every 40,000 persons, until the number of representatives shall amount to 200, after which the proportion shall be so regulated by Congress that there shall not be less than 200 representatives, nor more than one representative for every 50,000 persons. So the clear intent was that representative districts get no larger than 50,000.
Notice the basically conservative nature of our population. Once you leave the major metro areas, notice America's still very conservative. Unfortunately, we the people don't know our own authority and duty, so devious men with lust for power have taken us hostage, all of us. And you know what? Our founding fathers knew it was going to happen like this, so they gave us a relief valve in the very first original right in our Bill of Rights. 12 states ratified the first article, but only 11 sent their paperwork in to the U.S. archivist. After ratifying, Connecticut had second thoughts because one word was mistranscribed on the copies that were sent out to the states. It read "not more than," where it was supposed to say "not less than." So Connecticut held back their paperwork. Literally, they stored it in the basement. But ever since George Washington's dramatic plea on the last day of the convention, it was always clear what that original First Amendment means. You can even see it on the facsimile copies of the amendment as printed in Philadelphia newspapers back then. Clearly, Article the First says, there shall not be less than 200 representatives, nor less than one representative for every 50,000 persons. It was clear what they meant: small districts. So today, the original first right in our Bill of Rights is the only one not yet fully ratified. Now look at this. This is the number of U.S. House districts we should have today if we were following the Founding Fathers' design. Imagine this. Look at your state. For instance, if you live in California, you should have 783 small local districts. Hundreds of small conservative California communities would finally have the first representation they've had in Congress and in the U.S. Electoral College in over a century. Imagine that. But what do we have today? California only has 53, mostly going to the populous liberal cities and leaving all the small towns and rural California unrepresented. Imagine states like Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, all with only one representative.
And because that amendment never got ratified, we now have in America today, on average, one representative to 750,000 US citizens. That is not representation. It is so far from real representation. In some places, it's one representative to over 1 million US citizens.
This is exactly the corruption that the Founding Fathers sought to avoid and why they made this the first right in the Bill of Rights. You see, today industry just buys these seats. Politicians spend up to 75% of their entire year fundraising for the next huge, expensive election.
This is still a pending amendment. And our mission in Tactical Civics includes securing ratification of this amendment by 27 more states, just like Greg Watson did, except this time with hundreds of thousands of repentant members of We the People glorifying Christ and enforcing the Constitution. And when we do, it will change everything. With 6,400 new representative districts, for the first time in our history, America's 31,000 small towns will have a voice. We will be able to pass our first reform law and bring Congress home for good to work full-time in a modest office in their local district under our supervision. We will break up the criminal enterprise in Washington, D.C. once and for all.
If you're the kind of person who's always been different from your neighbors, if you're always driven to a challenge for the betterment of mankind, join us in this historic adventure that our descendants will read about in history books. But more than that, our descendants need us to take responsibility now.
And what happens if we just keep leaving our civic duties behind the way generations before us have?
Well, my answer to that is quite simple. You can't move what you leave behind. If we, the people, continue to neglect our civic duties, leave them in the past like the generations before us, this country will not move forward. It will fall. And it won't be the president's fault. It won't be the fault of political influencers who kept us distracted, keep us consuming. It will be ours. Our apathy, our responsibility, our failure to take it seriously. We can't be influenced into restoring this republic through fear or outrage, but we can influence its restoration through local, lawful action. And make no mistake, this is not political theater. This is real life, real communities, real responsibility, and real consequences if we, the people, do not assume our civic role.
What we are doing together, saints, I think is best illustrated in a popular meme that you may have seen before. If the people stand, the game is over. And stand we will.
hope for the best, but the swamp keeps on growing. We're failing the test. Red tie or blue tie, same strings on the stage. We the people grew weary of turning the page. No king on a throne, Romans 13 was twisted. In this republic, power was always enlisted. Grand jury and militia, still written in plain. Time to stand tall, no more begging again. We feel the fire in the comments, the anger online. But anger without duty is wasting our time. This is our republic, not their private domain. We enforce the Constitution, we're breaking the chains. County by county, the future begins. Tactical civics, now we step in. We the people, the solution is you. Lock arms, family, we're seeing it through. They said wait for the next one, just trust the process, while they print in this money and leave us the mess. We opened the books, read the founders' own words. Article 1, Section 8, now the truth will be heard. Bring Congress back home where the people can see. Real oversight, real accountability. This isn't left, this isn't right. This is we the people stepping into the light. This is our republic, we're drawing the line. Tactical civics, now come, now the future is mine. Every generation, lock arms and arise. The Constitution is duty placed in our lives. We the people, the solution is you. Lock arms, family, we're seeing it through. We the people, the solution is you. Tactical civics, the restoration starts local.